And they did it to us again. BlackRock and the big boys and girls from Wall Street coming in and pumping the crypto space up. Bitcoin going back up to 38,000. We have now cooled off. I got a full update. We just had Jerome Powell basically said close the effing door on some activists and climate change protesters that came into his speech. But he didn't just shut out the climate protesters. He also shut out all the bulls who are hoping that Daddy Powell is going to forgive us and ease up, as he confirms that we're going to have to keep rates higher for longer. And this spooked the markets. Let's get into a full update and we'll break it down right now for you. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin has cooled off to 36,222, Ethereum at 2,000, and XRP back to 65 cents. Let's take a look. So as I reported here, Jerome Powell giving his speech here today. Higher for longer is the message, and it sends the DXY pumping back up to nearly 106. And this also pumped the 2-year back up to 5% for that 2-year. This went crazy, along with the 10-year going up as well. And we also had another terrible treasury auction. And this, on top of Jerome Powell's comments, sent the treasury yields bumped up way again here, back up to 4.65 for your 10-year, and that 2-year once again back up to 5%. This sent it absolutely pumping. Now, as I stated, Fed Chair Jerome Powell says just close the effing door after climate protesters interrupt his speech. I'm not going to play the clip. I'm going to keep it clean for you guys. But Jerome Powell, not only is he shutting the door on the protesters, but he's also closing the door on those who want to see him ease up on where these markets are heading. And so here's your article here today. Taking a look at this thing, the Dow down 200 points after Fed's Powell says higher rates may be needed, and we also get a weak treasury auction. As I just shared with you, we have a 9-day win streak for the S&P 500, would be the longest since 2004, but we see that it gets jolted here today, and we'll be watching that one closely. Now, they're also using this as an excuse. A ransomware attack on the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China disrupts the U.S. Treasury market. How perfect timing, right? We have nobody that wants to buy these treasuries. So at the auction, nobody's buying them. That's what sends the rate soaring. And then we also have this ransomware attack that just so happens to take place with the Commercial Bank of China. Okay. And then on top of that, we have Jerome Powell's statements, and this is sending the markets back up here for the DXY for the 2-year and the 10-year, and this has sent crypto back down after BlackRock pumped us this morning. I'm going to get into that after I share this most recent statement from Russia saying that the United States will run out of paper to print dollars to service its debt. And so the United States getting called out on the world stage, even Jerome Powell having to admit that we're going to have to keep the rates higher for longer because inflation is still here. And then we see another failed treasury auction. We see a ransomware attack, and that is the excuse that they're using to cover up for why nobody wants to buy this crap. Nobody wants to issue the United States government more debt. And just like Russia and all these other, and even it's not just our enemies like Russia, even our allies are turning away from the United States dollar. They're turning away from us for settlements and trade, along with our bonds and our treasuries are being dumped at levels that we haven't seen in 10 years. Now, as I stated and titled this episode here today, we have $9 trillion asset manager BlackRock. They used to be at $10 trillion. They've lost a little bit of money. Now they're down to $9 trillion. Still got a little bag there at BlackRock, but they have registered an Ethereum trust in Delaware. And so this is the precursor to them filing for a spot ETF filing for Ethereum. We already know we have multiple filings for the Bitcoin spot ETF, and this is what pumped Bitcoin up to 30K, and then it continued, and we've rallied all the way up to 35,000. But then today, we see Bitcoin in the overall cryptocurrency space just going absolutely nuts as this news gets shared. And we see Bitcoin going all the way up to 38,000, but quickly selling back down to 35.6, basically at the levels that we started off this day at, right? And we have since, bounced back up above 36,000. We're going to be watching this one closely as XRP got no piece of the pump, unfortunately, but it did get part of this sell-off back down to 61.8. That's back down to 62 cents for XRP, and we've now recovered back up to 65 cents for your XRP. Now we see oil still moving sideways, really no action today for that. Silver back down to 22.6, and our gold actually did rally up to start today, back up to basically 1965, but now cooling off to 1959. Watching gold there. But like we've been watching here with NVIDIA and the stocks, the overall, the S&P just having its best week last week, and it took us all the way back up to $480 for NVIDIA. NVIDIA almost achieving a new all-time high once again. And then we see that we get a sell-off here after this news gets shared. Same thing for the S&P 500. This thing had its best week last week, rallying strong. But then Fed Chair Jerome Powell has spooked everyone. The higher for longer talk has everyone spooked, and we get a sell-off, not only for the stocks, but a sell-off that also spread off into the cryptocurrency space as well. And the main point that I've been trying to share with everyone is that BlackRock's been pumping and dumping us. They did it back with the spot ETF rally, and the Bitcoin bros piled in, and they thought this was it. We're finally going to be sending this thing, and we're going to be beginning the next bull run. And maybe we have begun the next bull run, but I just have remained hesitant and patient because this is the type of narratives. They knew what they were doing when they let this get dropped, right? This isn't by accident that it gets leaked out here that BlackRock registers Ethereum Trust in Delaware. This is public information, but BlackRock, they know what they're doing when they're thinking, okay, today's the date that we're going to allow everyone to see that the Ethereum Trust has been filed in Delaware. That's going to be another lead and catalyst. And I promise you on the back end, they went short. I promise you on the back end, they've been shorting the heck out of this thing, and they're getting ready to dump their positions on us. In fact, they might have already taken profits on this as they knew what kind of reaction this was going to have. This pumped Bitcoin up to 38,000. Let me take a look at where it took Ethereum to. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum got pumped all the way back up to 2,050. I mean, they just sent this thing to the moon. Same thing for Bitcoin, back up to 38,000, and the same thing for Ethereum. Okay, XRP getting no piece of the action other than the downside action. That was unfortunate to see. But nonetheless, I'm remaining patient. I'm watching this thing closely. Long term, I am as bullish as everybody else. We're going to get a Bitcoin spot ETF. We're going to get an Ethereum spot ETF. We're going to get an XRP spot ETF eventually. But in the meantime, I'm remaining patient, and we'll just continue to watch this one. I'm going to be very interested to see what Jerome Powell does at the next meeting. It's going to be December 12th and 13th, where we're going to get the final meeting before the end of the year. Is Jerome Powell going to give us another pause? Is he going to cut rates? I don't think that we get a cut. I don't think that he has it in him to raise once again, but he is leaving that on the table. But I'm expecting another pause. Let me know in the comments down below what you think Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to give us at that next decision. And just remain patient right now with your capital on the sidelines, ready to buy these opportunities as we see that crypto could cool off after this hype that brought us back up here again today. Remain patient, stay ready, stay liquid, and let's keep on making the moves, as we're not going to be unemotional about these hype narratives that are getting everyone else excited. We understand that the real utility is getting built out, as we've just dropped a couple more videos are going to be on the way here on the most recent announcements coming out of Ripple's Swell Conference. Big time utility partnerships and adoptions being announced. Meanwhile, the mainstream crypto bros are getting suckered into this narrative, and they're getting taken to the slaughter once again. We're not going to let that happen to us. And I also just dropped on my YouTube. I tried to upload it to Twitter, but I think it was too long of a video to upload from my mobile phone. So I just uploaded it straight to YouTube, and that would be Ethereum Whistleblower Exposes It All. And that would be Steven Narioff making his first appearance on a Twitter space and starting to share his story publicly. And boy, oh boy, did the rats go scurrying away as soon as Steven started to drop the bombshells. Nobody wanted any piece of it. And this was so funny. Steven Narioff, you can go listen to the full exchange. It was about a 13-minute clip, and you can go listen for yourself. Steven Narioff gave Mario, right, the host of Crypto Town Hall, the biggest crypto space on Twitter. You would think that they would want to cover this, right? This should be the number one story in the crypto space. But Steven Narioff mentions that they're looking to drop a lawsuit potentially within weeks, not months, weeks, So potentially by December here, we could see a lawsuit settled here by Steven, along with him dropping his full story. And then he gives the opportunity. He says, yeah, I'd love to come back on the show. And Mario Nafal passes it off to Rand Nooner. And so what do you think, Rand? What do you think? What do you mean, what do you think? This should be the number one story. You should be all over this. If Steven would take my money, I would pay to have the exclusive on this story. I would cut a big fat check to have the exclusive on this story. What do you think, Rand? Boy, oh boy. And the space was absolutely full. I have the full recording. It was absolutely full with all these speakers. Steven comes on, starts sharing his story. One by one, they start dropping like flies, like the little rats that they are. They start scurrying away. And they literally ended Steven sharing his story. And they had to transition to, we got to give a few moments here for today's sponsor, who was, 9-inch Exchange, which, yeah, I wish I was making this crap up. We have a patriot whistleblower who's ready to expose everything that's been wrong within the crypto space and within our government as well, calling out the SEC, Department of Justice, FBI. This is everything that we need in our defense to go fight for crypto regulations and get that level playing field. This isn't just about XRP. This should be the whole entire space should be rallying behind Steven Narioff. And what are they doing? Thanks, Steven. We'll think about it. But we got to give some opportunities here for 9-inch shillers, a meme coin exchange. That's literally what they are. We got to get today's show sponsor in here, 9-inch meme coin exchange. And folks wonder why 99% of this space is going to zero and why we are looked at as a joke by the institutions and real players across this world. We got a real story to cover, and no. Hold up. Let's let today's shill come on in. These guys have no soul. They don't care about fighting for a level playing field. They want to go collect their little shill check because they're all... I'm going to stop before I say too much. These guys are an absolute joke. Got to collect the little shill check. A bunch of brokies. Is that what we call them nowadays? These guys are all broke. They're so damn desperate to get their little shill check. It's an absolute joke. I'd be embarrassed and ashamed of myself to cut off Steven Narioff so that we could talk about some hex bro built a meme coin exchange called 9-inch. And yes, it's in direct relation to what you're thinking. That's how stupid it is. With all these I'm not even going to talk about it. I was embarrassed to be in the space listening. But I'm going to cut myself off before I say too much. You can check the full exchange. I just dropped that on my YouTube. We'll be watching the markets closely. If you appreciate the update, if you feel how I feel, and you get a little bit worked up, just make sure you smash this one, share it out far and wide, and I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless you all.